It's 8 o'clock. Welcome, everybody. I'd like to call the Whatcom PUD meeting of December 21st. It's a special meeting because we changed the time, but this is taking place of what would have been our regular meeting next week. So thank you all for coming. Let's start with the Pledge of Allegiance. Who would like to volunteer for that? Commissioner Murphy, please go ahead.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. So first, let's look at the agenda. There's been one minor change. There's been an adding an executive session. But no other changes. Are there any comments or changes to the agenda?
Not for me.
I'll entertain a motion to approve the agenda.
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda.
I will second that.
Motion and a second. If there's no further discussion, please signify by saying aye.
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 Motion carries. Let's move on to the consent agenda. And on the consent agenda, there's our minutes of the last meeting of, let's see, of December 14th and the claims of December 21st.
I'll make a motion to accept the consent agenda as it reads.
And I'll second.
Yeah. Great, there's a motion, a second, and if there's no further comment, please signify your support by saying aye.
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 And now let's move on to public comment. And if you could assist, although I don't see any hands up.
No hands up, and it doesn't, looks like we only have one other person attending other than staff.
Okay. So we'll close the public comment period and let's move on to old business.
I think we're going to have under broadband update, if Andrew can join us. I think Andrew is going to make a few comments, and then I don't know if Christine was going to add some comments, really an outcome of the last steering committee meeting last week. So there's Andrew. Morning, Andrew.
Good morning. Should I dive in? It cut me out as I was joining this group. So are we ready to go?
Yep.
Perfect. Well,
Yeah.
Thanks. Thanks, Steve and commissioners. Good morning. We met last week, the steering committee, and I'll just go through some highlights and then kick it over to Commissioner Grant if she'd like to add anything additional or if I missed anything. But there's a warm welcome for me joining the team, so I felt really welcomed, and it sounds like folks are excited with everything that we have to do ahead of us. And then we moved into Gina started talking about some updates with her projects, and we went into some of the weeds in her projects, and which is all good. And we talked about her Public Works Board project that she has been working on, and unfortunately that did not get funded, but that's okay. We'll go after additional Public Works Board funding in future rounds. And then she did an update on kind of what the outline of where we think we need to go in 2022 in draft form, and we're working towards that now to get something out to the commissioners as we move into 2022. And there's some talk about where some dollars will be coming from both the federal and the state, and you know, looking to identify some funding sources for where we can pick up some additional grant dollars in 2022. In a nutshell, that was the bulk of what we discussed, and I'll kick it over to Commissioner Grant to fill in any gaps.
Yeah, thanks, Andrew. You know, I think we talked a little bit too about the role of NOAANET and the possible funding from the Mount Baker Foundation. So hope to have some more details about that in the future, possibly from Noanet directly. And I know, Andrew, you're going to be collaborating closely with Noanet. So I think everybody's sort of eager to learn a little bit more about that. Yeah, we also had a good discussion about getting GIS utility pole location information from Puget Sound Energy. And I was happy to hear back from Puget Sound Energy a few days ago. And Andrew will be meeting with their team after the holidays to try to figure out how we can get that information, because that will speed up our process quite a bit, not having to come up with all that data by ourselves. So appreciative of PSC's response on that. And it sounds like they've been having some internal meetings to try to figure out how they can help us. So I think that's it from me on that meeting. If you have anything else you want to share about broadband program in general, Andrew, you're welcome to.
I think I'm all set at this time. More to come. Learning a lot about what the port is doing and the efforts here at the PUD and how we can find consensus and move forward.
What was the scope of the Public Works Board funding that Gina was asking for? And then I remember Gina talking about that a couple of years ago, and I'm assuming that the vision for what was going to be requested for funding evolved over the last couple of years. So what was the actually application for? What portion of the broadband expansion?
Sure, good question. My understanding is it's an extension of the Port of Bellingham's already funded curb project north of Linden, in the rural areas in North Linden, and the idea was to head west towards Blaine, but stay outside of the incorporated area of Blaine as you move west or east rather to the Port of Bellingham's existing curb funded project. And the Public Works Board project was a $2 million ask, and there's no match required. So it's a 100% grant application, and it would follow the same irrevocable right of use as the existing curb funded applications, where basically the maintenance and management of the asset is on the private sector, and they have access to that for 25 years, and it reverts to private ownership. And that would have picked up 284 passes in very rural areas of North Linden. So unfortunate that did not get funded, because I do feel that that's a really good project. So I think we could tighten that up in the future and go back with some revisions. And Port of Bellingham will hear what they'll have an after action report for reasons why they were not funded. The funding agencies make that a big point, so that agencies can understand where they may have gone sideways or ways they can improve for the next round. So
Great, thank you. Any further questions about the broadband?
Thank you for joining, Andrew. It was great to have you there with some staff support.
good to be there.
Oh, by the way, I should mention that, and this is more for folks who live in the city of Bellingham, but there is a survey out by the city of Bellingham. And if you live in the city, it's important to take a look at it and try to comment on it. There's some limitations as far as the survey goes. It doesn't allow you to provide a lot of information on the kind of connectivity you have. But it's anyway, it'll be useful data that comes out of it still. That survey will be open through January.
Atul, is that something that we should post on our website to help get the word out about it, especially since you're a member of that group?
Well, because we're countywide and it's for the city, the city's not promoting it very well. I'm trying to get people that are relatively, disenfranchised in the city, who are suffering the most from connectivity problems, to respond. So I was going to send out some broadcast emails to different groups in that category.
Yeah.
but I'm not sure that the PUDs, people who come to the PUD website would fall
Yeah.
in that category.
Can you, I could dig it up somewhere. Western students obviously struggle tremendously with internet access.
Yeah.
So I
The
could
groups
try to
try-
send, have they tried to get it connected to those
So-
Western?
If the commissioners would like, I send you the links for the survey. I'll send it to you, Stephen, and you can forward it to the commissioners.
Okay,
And
okay, I'll try to get it out.
Okay,
thank you. Okay. Any more comments on the broadband update? So let's move on from the broadband update to resolution 811 for our districts.
maybe Peter, welcome, and are you going to handle this one?
I'm happy to kind of give an introduction and provide any further detail if it's requested. So good morning, commissioners and PUD staff. Today is the day for consideration of the resolution establishing revised commissioner districts. As you know, but just for the record, we've had several meetings, including approval of a draft plan. Following that, there was a public hearing at the last PUD commission meeting. And today before you, you have a resolution that would take that record that's been established and it provides both the process and the substantive elements of that redistricting plan, including all the elements required by the statute, which we've discussed before, first and foremost being the equalization of population as much as possible within those commissioner districts. And as you see in the resolution, you have three main points. You have findings that you will be meeting those statutory requirements. You have the actual adoption of the new revised commissioner district boundaries. And thirdly, you have a direction to staff to take any further administrative action that may be required. And the one thing we do know will be required will be development of a revised legal property description, because that ends up being submitted to the county auditor for filing and recording. And so with that, I can answer any questions that the commission may have.
Are there any further questions? And just for the benefit of the public, we've discussed this in two prior meetings, at least two prior meetings, and it's a relatively straightforward modification to equalize population among our three districts of the three commissioners. So if there's no further comment, I entertain a motion to approve resolution 811.
I'll make a motion to approve resolution 811.
And I'll second.
Has there been a motion and a second? And if there's no further discussion, please signify your support by saying aye.
Aye.
The motion carries. Now let's move on to new business. So yeah, we've got a lot of items on this agenda. The first two are the ones that are the most essential. I forgot to mention at the beginning of this meeting, I don't foresee it being a problem, but Steve has a meeting he has to get to at noon. We have to leave at 11:34. And I think we're on track to be done well in advance of that. So item 6A is the award to Waterhouse Environmental Service Corporation for a second one-year contract term extension.
I'm going to ask Brian. Brian is, can you take this, Brian?
Yes, I can. Good morning, commissioners. Our chemical supply for the water clarification plants was supplied last year by Waterhouse Environmental Services Corp. And it was supplied last year under the first one-year extension of their original contract with us. So staff is asking today for approval of the second one-year extension to the chemical supply contract with Waterhouse. In past years, this was a fairly simple process, but like everything else in 2021, it's not this time around. Anticipating the coming of the ending of the year, a couple of months ago, we started discussions with Waterhouse about an extension for that, final 1-year extension under their existing contract. In past years, this is a simple process. Typically, there was either no price increase in the chemical proposed, or it was a modest increase in the range of 3%. This time around, we ran into difficulties in the negotiation on price. Waterhouse, number one, would not provide a firm price, which we've always had in the past. And number two, they could only give us an estimate of where they thought that price might go. And the sales rep for Waterhouse basically told us it could be as high as a 50% increase. They just didn't know at this time, nor would they guarantee a firm price for deliveries in 2022. So that set us back a bit. We had further discussions with Waterhouse and asked specifically why the price increases of this magnitude, and requested that they supply us with a paper explaining where those price increases are coming from. And they did so. And it's really a litany of worldwide supply chain disruptions. And I can just hit on a couple of them just to give you a flavor for it. But one of the ingredients, if you will, in the chemical, the polyaluminum chloride, is alumina. And previous supply, the major supplier of that was, our suppliers were Russia and China. Well, China has pulled back on supply of aluminum on the world market because they need it internally, because they have an energy shortage, and they're not running all their plants within China. So China turned around and bought the majority of Russia's export supply. So it left little on the market for other uses and has driven up the cost substantially for that ingredient to the chemical product. Another one was chlorine gas, which is used to make hydrochloric acid, which is used in the chemical process as well. So that went up. There's a worldwide shortage in ferric, which is a byproduct from the steel smelting steel smelting process. Because there's less steel being made, there's less ferric available on the market. That price jumped. And the final one I'll mention is shipping. Shipping costs for the supplier is jumped tenfold over the same period last year. So put these all together, and they have real uncertainty in the pricing and the materials that go into their product. Therefore, they can't guarantee the price to their purchasers. We then negotiated with them, well, what will work here? How can we put a bounds around this? And what we've come up with is a contract that, number one, will start with the base price for the product, which is the same as we're paying this year. And immediately we ordered additional chemical supply. We've topped off our tanks at both plants now. So we think we can live on what we've got until into the March period next year. So we've got that locked down. The second condition that's in the contract is they have to give us at least 5 business days notice if they want to increase the base price that we're paying now. And they have to supply an explanation of what's driving that cost increase. We then have the right to say, let's continue and we'll order additional chemical, or we can cancel the contract. Along with this, we get into this period, we can have conversations with other suppliers. If they're able to supply cheaper, we may jump ship and try to put together a contract with a different supplier. Unfortunately, there's only 2 other suppliers of this product. They're all having the same difficulty. Neither of them would guarantee a price as well. So we may jump ship, but here again, uncertainty on pricing. The third element that we've built into the contract for your consideration is that, well, I guess I've already mentioned that. The third item is our right to terminate the contract anytime they signal that there's going to be a price increase. Currently, we're paying about 43 cents a pound for our chemical supply. It's really part of the process that leads to flocculation and the settling out of materials in the water. But if there was a 50% increase and we agreed to move forward, then that price rises to about 65 cents a pound. So that's kind of the budget, the range we're working within. And I think we'll stop right there, see if there's any questions, but it's an unusual situation. Normally we would not sign a contract if we didn't have a firm price, but we can't get there this time around. Glad to answer any questions the commissioners might have.
Questions? Commissioner Murphy?
Say, Brian, over the years, I have shared my concern about the chemical pack. So you're well aware of my thoughts of it. And as the price continues to go up, I have to believe there's something out there besides using a chemical in the way we're using it. I mean, does Linden use the same product?
Yes. Linden uses the exact same product that we're using currently. Most of us, we used to use a chemical that was it was an iron-based chemical, that's where the ferric ingredient was used. But for us, we had two issues with the ferric-based chemical. Number one was discoloration that occurred to our equipment and also was causing problems at the customer end in terms of their filtering, because we pre-filter, they do final filtering at the plant at their end, and the ferric product was not working for them. And they basically ask us if you can possibly move away from this product. The second thing is it does not, we can't manage turbidity as well with the ferric product. Based on the reports from our water operators, the polyaluminum chloride covers a much wider range of river conditions, from, we get the normal rain that flushes organics off fields, then we get the floods that bring all kinds of materials down, and then we've got the glacier melt in late spring, summer that creates this really, really fine microscopic material suspension in the river. The polyaluminum works the best across all ranges. So that's why we're continuing to use that product.
And I appreciate you explaining that. I have gone down there over the years and looked at it all and the byproduct and everything else. So I know what you're saying. It's just, I just don't like spreading that aluminum chloride around because, we do in the end, it's a byproduct we have to get rid of. I don't know what they do with it. Some of it's left in the water as we sell it. And I just don't like, the chemicals. So I would hope that there's something out there that we could change to, especially when we were spending as much money as we do each year on this chemical. You would think there'd be some new technology out there to accomplish what we want without using the pack.
Well, what we do, Commissioner, is we are open on that, and we do invite other suppliers that may have different products, and we're willing to test, and we have tested in the past other products. They'll provide at no cost to us or low cost a sample of their product to use under different conditions, but we need to test it for at least one annual period to see whether or not it'll do the job. The other thing is, as far as deposition of the materials that go into the settling ponds, the waste ponds, we have to, regardless of what chemical we're using, those spoils that we remove from those ponds, we have to remove off site because basically under the environmental regulation, we can't deposit it in floodplain because we've thought about that in past, just to save costs, to spread it out in the fields between us and the river, and we're good to go. But we so far have not been able to be permitted to do that.
There's the other, what was it, how many years ago? It was probably 10 or 11 years ago, we did a study working with a couple other plants in North America. One was Edmonton, looking at places that use river water for their supply. And we actually tested what was it, a sand trap type of a system, Brian? And that would have gotten us basically off the chemical. But considering our river conditions, and Brian mentioned this before, but with the flashiness in our river system, that process would have been much less expensive, but it was not something that would work with our system. It just didn't. So the other is that on the spoils, we have, I think Brian mentioned it, but we have those spoils tested before we have them removed every year. And we're not seeing any significant residual from the pack that keeps or limits the use of those spoils by the contractor that takes them out. So
I'm done.
So so if we didn't use the chemical flocculant, I'm guessing we'd have to have the water in those settling ponds for what, 3 or 4, much longer period of time? Do I have that right?
Well, in our treatment train, the first thing that happens is we do have in the plants, we basically remove the larger particles, the sand. Basically, we have sand traps. That material, once the water velocity slows down in our plant, that will drop out without any chemical application.
Mm-hmm.
But the particles that we're talking about that are suspended in that water are microscopic. They will not settle out without the flocculation process, where you're basically enlarging the size of the chemicals by, basically you've got electronic bonding going on there. You put a charge, you're creating a charge and subtracting materials. So I know of no other way we can get those fine particles out of the water than a chemical application.
And am I correct that, it's hard to predict, but we're probably going to start seeing even higher levels of turbidity with the changes that we're seeing in climate, the flooding?
That would be the best guess. We're off the charts just in the recent floods. They were dealing with turbidity in the 1,600 to 2,000 range. We're under contract with the customers. We're supposed to get that turbidity down to 10 or lower. So we're going to see more frequent high turbidity events, I'm sure.
Okay. I don't have any more questions.
So I had a question. In the budget assumption, we use, if I'm correct, a number that's much less than a 50% increase. Why did we use such a low number in our budget forecast?
Just because of the timing of the budget, and based on previous years, I believe Annette had used 3% escalator this year for the 2022 budget, not knowing just how high it might go. We used 5%, so that was almost a doubling, and then it comes in at as high as 50. So I think the other thing I tried to explain in the action memo is the river conditions really drive how much chemical over the course of the year we use. And so the budget numbers are always just that, they're budget numbers, and we always come in, either higher or lower than that, depending on what the river does. So this is just an added factor to that this time around.
Right. So as you estimate, it could be $100,000 more than we projected.
Yeah,
Um,
based on the amount of chemical we projected we might use, it could be $100,000 more.
In terms of the variable cost impact on the water we deliver, this number is still pretty small.
Yes.
Right.
When we've looked at other alternatives, what's a process? Do we essentially have a test bed to test a model of our water treatment process? How do we test other alternatives?
We actually pick periods. We'll dedicate a basin. We have that capability now of moving water through water plant 2 and directing it in 2 directions to different basins. So we can isolate one or more of the basins for just use of that product. Then in the other basins, we use the other, and you can compare what happens there. I guess that's the best way to explain it. So we actually do an in-water test. It's no modeling or anything. It's looking at that and seeing how effective that chemical is and how much we have, we base effectiveness and how quickly turbidity is resolved and how much chemical it takes to do that.
And the results you get from that process, you believe, are very representative of real world because they're almost real world.
Yes, correct. And that was, a decision several years ago that we made that, it's one thing that all the suppliers, you're going to have all this, the marketing pitch, how great their product is because of this and this and this. Well, unless you actually test it in real life, you don't really know. And
When's the last time we evaluated an alternative?
oh, that's a good question, Commissioner. It's been,
I'd say about 10 years ago.
yeah, it's been quite a while. And like I said, there's 3 suppliers of the poly, and we haven't invited any test the ferric or the iron metal based product. We just haven't looked at that mainly because of customer input. We're trying to be responsive to the customers. So.
Okay. Any further questions?
I will mention one last thing, Commissioners. This is the last year under this contract, if approved. So we will be going out to bid in 2022 and open this up again. And that's, here again, we'll see what we get.
Hopefully by then the supply chain will be settling down, but there's no guarantee, of course.
Yeah, and I don't want to get into the weeds. It might be something a step to consider to do some kind of a study to look at the reassess internally for the staff's sake to reassess what are the options, look at our physical plant, and do a pre-bid study to better inform us about uncertainties to expect over the next couple of years, and maybe with us doing something like that.
Well, I think it's also it's not something that we can time very well, but we are getting now 2022. We're getting more into a deeper analysis of what our plant 1 rebuild looks like, and so it might not be a bad timing also.
Well, and in the words of Fred Dish, our former water system supervisor, storage. Storage is the answer. I mean, that would help. If we had storage, we could ride through some of these high turbidity events like the city of Linden. So,
yeah.
All right. Well, moving on. We actually need to make a vote here. Is there any further discussion? So I think what's before us is to approve the award of the Waterhouse Environmental Services Corporation second 1-year contract, recognizing that there's no price defined. So it could have budget implications.
Mhm.
Yes.
We expect it to have budget implications.
Keep in mind that if we are successful in getting through, say, March time period with the committed price on the amount that we've already ordered, that only leaves us 9 months. So a 50% increase is really not a 50% increase. And of course, in the next few months, we'll see potentially the greatest impact on river conditions over the next 3 to 4 months here too. So
without any other choice out there, and we need this. So I'll make the motion to approve the second 1-year contract for PAC with Waterhouse Environmental Service Corporation.
And I'll second.
There's a motion and a second. Not the most enthusiastic motion and second I remember. But nonetheless, a solid motion and a second. With no further discussion, all those in favor, please signify by stating an audible aye.
Aye.
Thank you all. Let's move on to the next item on our agenda, 6B, which is the change order number 6 for the Patelco Ferndale Pump Station project.
Dwayne, is it Brian or Dwayne, are you going to? There we go. Okay, Dwayne's on now. Dwayne, you're muted. Okay,
Can you see me?
can't see you.
Oh, okay. Hi. Well, I'm sure you probably read the memo on this, and I'll kind of give you a short description of what we've got going on here. BKI, Brown and Kaiser, our electric engineer, who designed the Ferndale pump substation. During the design, they had a designer working on the portion of the project that connects the new substation to the old plant. And that would be kind of a temporary, permanent, temporary, however you want to call it, connection until we build the new plant 1 3 or 4 years down the road, hopefully. That design engineer left BKI. The design for that connection wasn't quite complete. After he left that, evidently it got kind of dropped in BKI's system, and we got the project and we put it out to bid. Patelco got it. That portion of the project was not in the bid documents. As you can guess, that's a very important part of that project. And so what this is, it's recently been discovered that wasn't a part of the plan or the bid. So we've asked Patelco to give us a change order request to add that part to give us a change order to complete that work. So what this change order is the connection from the new substation to a transformer that we purchased, the PUD purchased, to connect that transformer and to the old plant, so we can run the old plant on the new substation for the time being. Had this not been missed, it would have been in the plans and it would have been a part of the bid packet. So it's not like it's a complete additional, but so that is the numbers for that is a change order of $108,000, $108,504.87. And any questions?
Questions from the commission?
I have a question. I see the original contract was for 3.6 million, and already we're on change order number 6 for a little over $200,000. it seems to be a lot of change orders for in such a short time of it being in this project. Any reason?
As no, not necessarily. As you can guess, this last year or so have been pretty difficult. Some of the design has been maybe a little unclear, and we've had to do some change orders because of that. You know, the electric engineer, like I said, has been losing employees, and you know, somebody will start designing something and then it'll go to the next person. But you know, then there are a few things too. I believe there was some environmental additions that as we went on, the city changed some things up. So just I don't like to say it this way, but I would almost say a sign of the times right now.
And I mean, if you recall, Commissioner Murphy, this was the project that we had the wetland environmental plantings, and that was a fairly significant piece of that, of the first 123,000. So
Steve, what do we normally set aside for, you know, things like this? This is a 6.3% increase already, but what do we set aside? 10%, 15%?
15%.
15? Okay.
And I might add, it is only the original engineer's estimate was 3.8 million, and we're with this change order, we're at 2.7% over the original engineer's estimate.
Okay, thank you. I have no further questions.
I had a question. Commissioner Grant, do you have anything? Okay, give me a second. I'm trying to uncover my question when I went over the materials. Right. So at this transformer that we've purchased to deal with the 4160 down to 2400, after we're done with it, what will happen to it?
I believe the plan currently is to surplus it, because at that point we shouldn't have any more 2400 gear.
So all of our new gear will be at 4160.
Yes.
And I believe that the cost of that unit that we've already purchased was around. Will you repeat for me what that was?
I don't have that in front of me right now. Brian, I don't know if you remember.
I don't at this time.
For some, yeah, I'm not sure.
Okay.
You know, given the market right now, used equipment like that wouldn't be, you know, heavily loaded and we wouldn't be using it that long, I would have to guess will command a higher surplus price than it would have in the past.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't have any further questions. So
if I could just add one more thing. I don't know if you remember, but because of the supply issues that we had, we did order the generator separately. We ordered the transformers separately, the two big transformers from 115, and the control house separately. So there have been, and these are just because of all the issues that were happening even at the time, knowing what was coming. So we've been trying to purchase these things to try and keep the project going once we got the contractor in.
do we foresee anything else coming down the road that's maybe an issue with the completion of this project?
We do have some of the station service transformers. They are not, they're having trouble getting them. I believe the initial estimated date was December, like right now, and then it went out to April. Last we heard, it's not probably going to be here till late July or August. And that's just what we know of now. We are probably, I would almost say, what, Brian, 70-80% complete with the project. So
you know, to further what Dwayne said there, given that the new service transformers won't be available till July, we've informed the contractor, and the contractor brought it to our attention. They are able to purchase some used station transformers in the short term. And if we purchase those transformers, then when the new ones come in, they'll just switch them out, and we'll keep the old ones as spares, because we can use those station transformers at any one of our 3 substations. So here again, an effort to keep the project moving. Fortunately, on the Ferndale project, we don't have a definite end date that we have to hit. So timeline is unfortunate. We're stretching it out, but it doesn't kill us like it would have at the refinery substation in terms of ending date.
Okay. Thank you. So I'll entertain a motion to approve change order number 6 for Patelco.
I'll make a motion to approve change order number 6 for Patelco for the Ferndale Pump Station project and authorize the district's general manager to execute the change order.
Second.
There's been a motion and a second. If there's no further discussion, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Commissioner.
I'd like to make a brief comment here. Is Brian and Dwayne, I recognize it's been a difficult year, and we've had many interruptions of what we're trying to accomplish with capital bills, driven by vendors, suppliers, and the general environment that we're in. What you and the staff have done is an excellent job of trying to maintain our focus despite these interruptions and difficulties. It's probably not fun for you guys to keep coming back to the commission with these changes and change orders and different kinds of audibles. I hope I can use that term again. It's a football term to keep us on track, and appreciate everyone's work to deal with these uncertainties that we've been faced with this last year or so, 2 years, and to keep us on track. So thank you both specifically, and then of course the whole team. There's no way for me to know what everybody's contributing in that regard. So take the credit if you deserve it.
Thank you.
Commissioner, I appreciate your comments. I think they're well placed, and Brian and Dwayne have done an excellent job over the last several months on dealing with these projects, and we're having staffing changes at the same time. Dwayne is trying to deal with changes in project manager. We've been fortunate to bring on a new project manager, but there are a lot of pivoting. There's a lot of pivoting that's been going on in the last several months, and giving both of them a lot of credit in making this work.
Yeah, I just want to echo my appreciation. It has been a very challenging year with all of this. So lots of gratitude from me.
Okay, let's move on to item number 6C, resolution number 808. Delegation of authority.
Commissioner, I'll take this one, and this is basically an extension, asking you to consider extending the period of the delegation of authority, the policy through 2023. And then secondly, to add the broadband program manager's spending limit. We did not have that position in the resolution before. So essentially that's what it is. No other changes we're asking for at this time. And we, in our discussion about extension through 2023, we had some discussion of whether or not we should just leave it at 2022, but I don't think that it's necessary. The titles of the positions should not change. If you note that on the last page of the handout, page 12, we list, all the positions that have spending authority under this delegation. And we will be looking at in the next few months here, as we hopefully will be hiring an electrical assistant analyst and also a SCADA technician. We may be adding those at some time in the next few months, hopefully, but Commissioner Grant noted that we didn't have one of those positions in here, and so I felt that I needed to mention that, and also that I'm expecting that your new general manager will be dealing with, hopefully with the hiring and getting those positions in this program. So there may be an additional amendment coming, in a couple months, but.
Commissioner Grant.
Yeah, I just have a question with these authorized purchasing limits. Can you just give me an example, Steve, for example, with the broadband program manager of why we would set this at 10,000 versus 2,000? Can you just walk me through why you set the limits where you set them, and so I understand?
I'll try. First of all, we try to take a look at the positions that report directly to me, so at the currently Andrew will be reporting directly to me, so that's one reason. Second is that we try to gauge some and provide some expectation of what purchases that individual may be making. And when we get into the technical area, and this is a little bit less than a couple of the other positions, but we expect that there'll be some opportunity for making decisions on purchasing equipment. And so again, that's my best response. We could make it a little bit less. In case of Andrew's situation, he's probably not going to be purchasing much in terms of, computers and equipment over the next several months, but we don't know that. So it also gives him an opportunity to make some advancement in terms of, any small contracts and so forth. So, but that's the best I can tell you. It's a bit of a wag, if you would, because especially with Andrew's position, we don't know what the next, year is going to look like. But I wanted to get him in that, if you would, in that chain of authority to make some decisions.
Okay.
We may not,
Thanks
in
for-
the case of Andrew, we may not see, anything more than, a couple $1,000s at most, but
Okay.
we don't know that. And this is not blanket authority either. I mean, it gives him or that position or any of these positions the authority to make these purchases, but we still have to abide by our purchasing policy on, what can be completed or authorized by an individual rather than having me do it or having the commission do it. So.
Mhm. Okay. Thanks.
Any further questions? Commissioner-
Thank you all, Jules. Steve,
Yeah.
because we do have a new general manager coming on in 22, I don't know if we should allow anything to run past 22 without input from the new general manager, instead of running this to 23. That's one question I had. The other thing is people, like, I look at the water system operators, $500. I mean, it seems like everything costs more in the industry, more than $500. So if they had to make a weekend or after hours or some kind of decision that they need to run to Bellingham and get something, I'm sure everything's gonna cost more than 500. So what would be their procedure then?
In the case, that is an example. I mean, they have the ability, if they need something on a Saturday evening, and it's available at, say, hardware sales or wherever, they can charge that. So that's not the same process that we'd go through. This is if someone wants to go out and buy, a set of tools or a couple of new wrenches for specialization, they can go and do that and without having authority. So the $500 in that case is very, very, very rarely ever used. And that's what the other thing that we try to do every year is to go through this and get input from staff and go, is this working? Is this working? Is this working? And so I don't think we've got any restrictions in here in your example that's going to cause a problem and has not caused a problem. And
Okay.
I mean, yeah, I mean, it's if you look at our purchasing policy and how purchases, subscriptions, travel, training, anything like that, we manage that through the system. So, and I have not heard a problem since we first established this policy of anyone, bumping up against a limit. And it caused a problem, so.
Okay. I appreciate your time. It's just questions I had, and I thought I better get answers.
Sure,
So
yeah.
thank you. I'm done.
Just one, Commissioner Murphy, one other response on the 2023 versus 2022. I mean, with the new general manager coming on, he can bring to you anytime after he comes on a request to amend this. So this basically just, if there are no changes that are brought, this gives you and the new general manager basically the opportunity to keep moving forward. That's all.
Okay, thank you for explaining that.
Is there any further discussion? If not, entertain a motion to approve resolution number 808 for delegation of authority, extending the delegations to 2023 and adding the broadband manager position.
I'll make a motion to approve resolution number 808.
I'll second that.
There's a motion and a second. If there's no further discussion, please signify your support by saying aye.
Aye.
And the motion carries. Let's move on to item number 6D, resolution 809, regarding the continued use of electronic signatures and electronic records.
This is just a request to extend this policy, and it was approved to be terminated at the end of December of this year. And we are not asking for any changes. And I'll try to respond to any questions that you might have, but this is just an extension of the time period.
Is there any discussion, any comments, questions from the commission? So let's proceed with a motion to continue to approve resolution number 809 for the continued use of electronic signatures and electronic records.
I'll make that motion to approve resolution 809.
And I'll second.
There's a motion and a second. By the way, Christine, your connection's a little bit weak, which is strange being a UD.
I know. I will. I might turn my video off then.
Okay.
Eddie,
Yeah,
okay.
Yes,
okay. There's a motion and a second. If there's no further discussion, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
I,
Resolution number 809 carries. Let's move on to item number 6E on our agenda, which is to approve resolution number 810, amending the policy for employee compensation for administrative employees, updating salary.
thank you, commissioners. I'll take this, and every year we go through a process of looking at our salary ranges for all of our non-union employees, and we go through, Ann goes through an exhaustive research on what we try to find is similar positions in both local communities, cities, and then PUDs around the state. We use the PUD survey, salary survey that the district receives every year. And then we look at what we expect to be certain salary range or certain salary adjustments for the next year to 2 years. And typically what we have is, a request to you to approve maybe 3 to 4 salary range adjustments. But what we're finding in the last couple of years, more significant changes in salaries across the region, not only locally, but across the entire state for most of these positions. And so what we did this year was look at all of our positions and then looked at an adjustment to salaries and wages for this year, and then assumed a 3.5% increase for 2023. Now, that's not suggesting that that's what we're going to put into the budget. But if you recall, according to the employee compensation policy, what we ask you to do is approve the salary ranges for the different positions, and then I have delegation authority to make those adjustments to all the non-union employees, and as long as they are within the salary ranges that you have approved, and that it's in the dollars are in the budget that you have approved. And so that's one reason that we're coming to you after last week. And once you have approved the budget, then we can legitimately ask for your approval for the salary range adjustments. As you see in the memo, we are asking for approximately, well, not approximately, I think 11 different salary range adjustments. And a couple of those, assuming we make adjustments to the positions, we would not be able to make them this year. So we're asking for those changes. And then we'd like to give the new general manager the flexibility for 2023 to make additional adjustments in 2023 or for 2023 without having to come back to you with additional salary range adjustments. We also, the same situation we have here is that we don't have a couple of positions in this system right now. And so, like we indicated before, we expect that the new general manager will be looking at adding a couple of the positions that we have budgeted, and depending upon the salaries that are agreed upon, the new general manager will need to come back to you for adding those positions and getting those salary range set. So. Christine's got a question.
Go ahead.
let me know if you can't hear me. I'll turn my video off. That might help. But Steve, I brought this up to you yesterday too, with the electric utility analyst. We have not hired that position. That was one of the positions that we've been unable to fill this year. And it looks
Right.
like there's proposed change. You know, the job market's incredibly competitive right now. That's a strategic hire that seems of critical importance. Should we change that range so that if we go out to try to fill the position again, we can be competitive with market rates?
You know, I think my answer to that is I would be challenged to make a suggestion and recommendation on that at this point, because we don't know where that new position will actually fit in. If we look at the salary ranges that we have right now, and if you look at the utility operations director at 130, and if we assume that the electrical utility analyst position at 115 at the top right now needs to be adjusted, I don't really know what to adjust it to. I guess that's my thought. And I know that's probably not the answer that's going to be satisfactory, but until new general manager comes on and starts doing a good search and identifies the individual, that adjust, you know, the top end of that range may need to be adjusted. I don't know.
Then we as a commission, when we, I mean, it seems like that's something that the new general manager is going to take over. And if we need a higher salary range for that position, he can come to the commission and we can decide that then. Okay.
That's
Great.
right. Yeah.
Okay. That was my only question.
Hey, if there's no further questions or comments, I'll entertain a motion to approve resolution number 810, which is to amend the policy for employee compensation for administrative employees, updating salary ranges.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. And if there's no further discussion, please signify your support by saying aye.
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 And resolution number 810 carries. And the next item we have on our agenda is the public comment policy.
I'll take that, Commissioner. Thank you. So the commission's indicated a desire to have a public comment policy that would try to encourage a more civilized dialogue, to eliminate bullying and, you know, personalized attacks, personal vindication politics from the public discourse, at least as insofar as relating to the PUD actions and operations and comments that are received. So we're working on a policy. It'll mirror some of what our social media policy is on content, of what people are allowed to post on the PUD's social media accounts. We don't have that ready today. We'll come back later. The intention here is, you know, clearly we're not going to be in a position to restrain, nor will we seek to restrain free speech, but we will have a process that says, should you engage in, you know, abusive, threatening, implied, introduce commentary about staff or elected officials' families, or inappropriate civil discourse, this will be referred to the general manager and legal counsel for appropriate response, and parties should not expect a response from the PUD in such type of dialogue or communication style. So we don't have anything for you today. That's the direction we're going. We should have something for you at the January meetings. But no dialogues anticipated today, but that's where we're at.
Yeah, and John, I have specific thoughts that I'm also on this subject. Looking forward to.
Great.
Maybe you and I can talk early in the year.
That'd be great. As I get a draft, I'll reach out to you, Commissioner, directly.
Great.
That's all.
All right, well, let's move on the agenda to item number 6G, which is our meeting schedule for 2022.
Commissioners, I can take this. This is just a recommendation. We try to put together a list of commission meetings and then integrate into that a list of known other meetings that we expect that the commission or commissioners will be attending, such as Energy Northwest, WAPUTA meetings, all those kinds of things. We don't have some specific meetings that we have identified in here, but such as the Watershed Management Board meetings. But we try to get a list out so that you and the community has a good sense of what our regular non-special meetings will be, and people can get, if you would, sort of tuned up to attend and participate, and also have some idea of what you and others at the PUD will be integrating into your schedule. So, and like this year, like today's meeting, is we call it a special meeting, but what we looked at in 2022 is, if you look at the back of that schedule, and we see December 13th and December 20th as already scheduled meetings. So unless we would change that, next year's meeting will not have to be a special meeting on the 20th. So that's all I had on that.
Can I ask a question or make a comment now, Atul?
Yes, yeah.
So I just think, like everything with where we're at as an organization, as we bring Chris on board, he might have some different ideas about how to do things. I also learned, like, the port, for example, only has one meeting in December. They take care of all of their business in one meeting. And so I just think, yeah, I love it. It's great to have everything in one schedule so we can add it to our calendars, but I think we should all be prepared to be somewhat flexible as we adjust to having a new general manager and open to his ideas about how to do things differently.
Yeah, I mean, and I appreciate that. And I think that we need to look at this as the schedule is not being restrictive as it is. It's flexible. It's just, here's where we're at today. Here's what we can expect, but that doesn't limit you to any changes. So.
Yeah, well, you can amend this regular meeting schedule later. You do have to have it set and published, so the public knows what your regular meeting schedule is for the year. So that's why it's being adopted at this time. And I think what the port does, for what it's worth, is it cancels its last meeting.
Yeah.
It may be scheduled, but it cancels.
Yeah.
Okay. Got it.
Any further discussion?
Nope, nothing more from me. I can make a motion unless you have any questions, Mike.
None.
Okay, I'll make a motion to approve the commission meeting schedule for 2022.
I'll second that.
There's a motion and a second, and if there's no further discussion, please signify your support by saying aye.
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 Let's move on to item number 6H, which is to select the commission representative staff alternatives for 2022.
Commissioners, I'll take this. I think it's pretty self-explanatory, and in most cases, this is just a list of very specific meetings and designees from the PUD to attend, who is delegated to attend representing the PUD in all of these different organizations and the meetings that are now scheduled. I would just suggest some thought on my designation in some cases, being a primary representative, that we can either change that primary representative, if you so choose, and list, instead of my name, put the general manager position or title, or you can leave it with me designated. And then when Chris comes on, then you can take action on individual cases. And that can be done. And we don't know what Chris's expectations will be in some cases, like the Communications Committee or the Water Committee, whether or not he wants himself to, fill those positions, or if he wants me to continue on in some cases. So, but I thought we should mention that. And then on the Port of Bellingham / PUD Broadband Committee, currently, of course, Christine is the elected representative and myself as the staff representative. I would suggest that because there are some discussions at that broadband steering committee about either potentially eliminating the elected, Christine and Michael from that committee, or that the makeup of that committee may be different in the next several months. We don't know that yet. So my suggestion is that if you do anything in terms of approving that Port of Bellingham PUD Broadband Committee, that you just leave it as it is right now and not make any change for the time being. So with that, it's really basically up to you three to decide on your representation on the different committees where you are now currently designated. And that includes PUD Association, Board of Directors, the government, all those committees in the PUD Association, Economic Development, EDI Board, the Council of Governments, although I think Atul has been attending, and I don't know what Commissioner Deshmani's thoughts are on continuing in that. And then, of course, the PERMS Committee and the Watershed Inventory Area Wire 1 Board. So basically up to you. These are not recommendations. These are just an insight as to what the current situation is. And then it's going to be up to you three to decide who, which positions you would like to continue on or change. So.
Okay, so let's have at it. Commissioners, is it fine if we just work through in order that here? So first, let's deal with the PUD Association committees. So, Mike, you've been attending the Board of Directors committee regularly, and I'm wondering how are you feeling about that? Are you wanting to continue in that capacity? Are you? Does anybody else want to cover that? How are you feeling about that, Commissioner?
I'm willing to serve, but yet at the same time, because of the two of you, you're more active, involved in everything. I'm more than happy to move to the side to let one of you, if you want to be the representative of Whatcom at the Board of Directors meeting for Wapuda. But otherwise, if you feel your schedules or you want something else, just speak up. I'm open to anything. And that's for all the positions. So. Right.
Yeah. Well, I just want to go through one at a time. So, yeah, I'm fine where I'm at. But I'd also find if Commissioner Grant wanted to be the primary or alternate as well.
I mean, I'm fine with where I'm at with the energy and telecom committees. I mean, Commissioner Deshmani, you're pretty much always on those as well.
Not always.
A+. So, but I feel like I kind of have my sea legs now on those committees. So now I might be able to even contribute more by staying on them, since I'm a bit more comfortable with, the process and, the Wapuda staff members that are leading those committees. So I would actually just be fine staying where I'm at. But like Mike said, I'm very flexible also.
Okay. Yeah, and I'm feeling the same way. So I mean, I guess we could just adopt the same committee responsibilities going forward for the time being. There was one committee which Commissioner Murphy, which that I have been attending pretty like almost without exception, and that's the Water Committee. And I don't know, and Steve, you're going to be supporting in some capacity for at least half the year our new GM as well in the water capacity.
Yes,
I don't know if the Water Committee is important for you to stay on as an alternative, but I'd like to be either the primary or alternate on the Water Committee, if that's workable. So, Steve, do you want to stay as the alternate, and Mike, do you want to stay as the primary, or where could I fit in one of those two categories?
I'm okay with staying on the water committee, but I do realize that you attend too. So if you have a stronger interest, O'Toole, I mean, I'm welcome to move over and let you step into that, or if you want to, whatever. But yeah, I like the water committee, but.
Okay, Steve?
I think it's, the one thing it's important that we have, other than the managers committee, that we have one of the elected board members as a primary on all the other committees. So I don't have a preference, obviously, between Mike or Toole if you want to step in on as primary. But I think it's important that we have an elected official there as primary.
Okay. Okay. So if, do you have any interest in either government relations or communications, Commissioner Murphy? Switch places with me on one of those committees? Those are the two most boring.
I've been on all these committees, but I do like government relations a little bit more than communication. So if I was to have to take one, I would lean towards the government relations.
Would you be okay with swapping water committee for government relations?
I can do that.
Okay. No, we all have two, which we're accountable for. We get to spread the joy and the pain evenly. Okay, great. And are you fine with moving on off of Wakuda? EDI, Commissioner Grant, are you happy with EDI?
Yeah, I mean, it's been fine this last year. I can't say that a whole lot of what we've focused on has been directly related to what the PUD does. I'm also interested in the Council of Governments role. So I don't know if you'd be interested in swapping.
Sure.
Commissioner Deschmont, and I can move over to the COG and you can do EDI.
Sure.
Just to do something new.
Yeah.
Okay.
This year, COG has the opportunity for getting involved in electric vehicle infrastructure and policy.
Oh, great.
I did a kind of a pre-screening when I became the representative for the PUD, and of all the things that are brought up, the things that received interest and enthusiasm from staff at the COG was ideas regarding electric vehicle infrastructure.
Okay.
And with some degree of overlap with the PUD. So that's probably one of the things that is an issue at the COG is that we're a non-voting member.
Mm.
So we're kind of an adjunct. So we have to really pick our battles, particularly so, because we
Okay.
ran out. So my input, which I can provide more later too, but since we're on the subject,
Yeah,
is that in an area, not you'll decide what D is, but an area that might be one that you consider to prioritize would be electric vehicle infrastructure.
okay. Were you able to make any progress around the discussion of a countywide dig once policy? Or
No,
did that make,
Yeah, that was another topic that I did raise. It didn't really receive much follow through or support at
Okay.
the top level, and I think that's because there's a lack of enthusiasm at the city and the county for that.
okay. Well,
And the county has an inordinate influence on the COG.
and they have, and they have one county council member that serves on the COG, or is there,
And as well as the county executive,
and the county executive,
right.
and then
And-
there's
And the biggest influencer on funding of the COG is the county executive.
okay. All right, well, for me, it's just another, so are you comfortable with making this swap?
Yeah.
Okay.
Especially now I'm going to the EDI with some changes on the county council, so I don't have to hear last minute ideas from other county council members. So I'm getting the better deal out of this, I think. But anyway.
I fully expect that the EDI committee will be more active in 2022 now. With the completion of the SEDS project and also with additional funding coming because of increase in tax revenue and less funding that was actually used in 2021. So.
And right, so yeah, you might be able to weigh in a tool on some of these broadband decisions with the EDI. That came up once, but a lot of the focus was on affordable housing this year, which does indirectly relate to the PUD, of course.
Yeah. Cool. Yeah, I'll maybe we should also plan a brief, more thoughts and briefing each other on these new committee assignments for the new year. So
Yeah, that could be useful as we pass them off
and
That may be a good work session topic for early in the new year, or to go
Right.
through all the committee assignment and goals.
And then that would be a really good work session, just to talk about what are we trying to achieve including the WPUDA committees and all of that. It might be a good work session for the commission to have at some point early in the new year.
I think maybe.
Yeah, maybe we should just do that. Put that on the agenda. Yeah.
I think that giving Chris a month to get his toes and feet in the water here, so to speak, and maybe in March, you could have that special discussion.
Yeah, well, maybe before that even, because, we're starting our committee meetings probably in January.
Yeah. It could also be a good sort of mental exercise for us to go through as we think about updating the strategic plan, right? Because,
Oh, that's a good point.
but at a less formal level, really just thinking about what our objectives are on these committees. And it has less to do with the general manager and more to do with how the commissioners are out there representing the organization. But yeah, I like that idea, John.
And Chris has offered to be involved in advance of the February 1st start date. So this may be something that Steve and I can coordinate with Chris to be involved prior to February 1st to have just a general kind of work session to talk generally about what the existing plan is, your initiatives, how you're going to implement those in committees, and kind of help tee this up for Chris and yourselves.
Yeah, okay. So is the commission in favor of doing a work session along these lines? Would we want to do it during one of our regular meetings, or would we want to schedule a special meeting for that?
Let me suggest that I reach out to Chris, confirm his schedule, Steve's schedule, and then come back and try to coordinate that with you all, your schedule, so you have enough at time allocated, so it's strategic as well, so you're efficient.
Yeah, I'm not sure how busy our early meetings are in the new year anyway.
Yeah.
And the one other thing, that technicality, administrative issue, Steve, could you make sure the Commissioner Grant gets the meeting schedule for COG, and I get the meeting schedule for EDI? Because I recall last year when I got started, I didn't get that information until very late, and I was able to adjust and start making the meetings, but getting that a little bit in advance would be good, so that I can plan for being there whenever the first meeting is.
And just so you know, Commissioner Deshmani, the EDI meetings are kind of on an as needed basis. So somebody from the county executive's office typically emails everybody like a doodle poll, and then she decides from there. So
Okay.
it isn't scheduled in advance.
Okay, good to know.
Which makes it a little bit challenging, but yeah, that's just the way it goes.
Okay. All right, so I think we have a slate for our commission representatives. Is there any further discussion on this? Do we need a motion?
Oh, well, we still have a few more to go, right?
Yep.
We're not finished?
Well, we have your favorite committee next.
Perms.
Oh.
Say O'Toole.
And so yeah, I'm fine with staying on there. The next meeting is going to be in person, and my joke to the folks at Perms was that this organization Perms is what gives me my street cred, because the place where they meet is like, not the worst neighborhood. I mean, there are worse neighborhoods than this neighborhood where they meet. How'd I get muted? Anyway, so I was saying is that the neighborhood where the Perms meets is not the best neighborhood, and so it gives me street cred. So anyway, I'm fine letting somebody else take on the role of risk management, but I'm also fine staying in that role too.
I don't hear any arguments.
Okay. I guess it's my street cred.
If Murphy wants to do it, I'm completely fine.
That was a rounding endorsement, though, I have to say.
Yeah. Everybody was muted. Oh.
And you could put it in the minutes, the response was muted.
Yes.
Okay, moving on to the Watershed Management Board.
My suggestion is to leave it the way it is, and if there's a change after Chris comes on and Chris wants to make a suggestion on moving into the alternate position, then that's fine. But I think that right now, I think we should just leave it the way it is.
Okay. Yeah, I would support that. Yeah, I kind of want to. Trying to be ready to provide the support along with Steve with climbing the learning curve on water issues. Next year is a different matter, but for this year, I would like to maintain that continuity. So, Energy Northwest.
Unless one of you want to be involved, I'm happy with it. I can serve another year if you wish. But I don't want to say, Christine, was that?
Well, no, I just wanted to, I am interested in moving into the role eventually. But I think leaving it as it is now sounds good to me.
Okay, sounds good.
Okay, and then City of Bellingham bag. I believe there's another 5 or 6 months of meetings for the bag. It'll be wrapping up middle of next year. I think honestly it would make sense to maintain continuity in that capacity.
I agree. I think, I mean, I think we have a lot of discussions to have about how we're doing broadband at the PUD in 2022. But I sort of feel like for both the bag and the steering committee, let's just keep it how it is. And if we need to make changes in the coming months, we can make those.
Right, and I think
But
because some of these are ending, it will be, you know, they'll naturally evolve to something else.
yeah. And I mean, just especially now that we have Andrew on board too, I think we need to really have a good discussion about what the role of staff versus commissioners are in program development of broadband. But let's leave it like this for now so that we can move on to our next item.
Okay, so I think we've covered all the assignments, is that correct?
So I'm going to go through these real quickly to make sure that we've got these correctly,
Okay,
if that's all right with you. And then on the Wapuda Board of Directors, it stays the same with Mike as primary, Atul as alternate, Managers Committee. We'll put in General Manager for the Managers Committee, and then Brian is alternate. Government Relations Committee, Mike will step in as primary and Christine will be alternate. Communications Committee, Atul, you'll stay on that. And then as an alternate, we'd put in General Manager. Energy Committee, Christine stays as primary, Brian is alternate. Water Committee, Atul steps in replaces Mike on the Water Committee, and the alternate is General Manager. And Telecom Committee, Christine stays on as primary and alternate is Brian. The EDI Committee, Atul steps in, replaces Christine. The Council of Governments, Christine steps in and replaces Atul. Public Utility Risk Management Services, PERMS, stays the same. Congratulations. Water Resource Inventory Area number 1 stays the same for now. And Energy Northwest stays the same. City of Bellingham Broadband Advisory Committee keeps the same, and Port of Bellingham Broadband Committee stays the same for now. If that's meets what your understanding is of the action that you decided to take, then we'd like to ask you to make a motion to approve that list.
I'll make a motion to approve the list.
I'll second it.
there's a motion and a second. And if there's no further discussion, please signify your support by saying aye.
Aye.
I
Thank you.
Thank you. So next is electing our officers for 2022.
Commissioners, this is totally up to you. It's that time of the year. And I would suggest not putting this off until after the first of the year, because you really should have the list of officers in place by the end of this year. So I'll just leave it up to you.
So
I just would say appropriateness would be for someone to make a motion for the president and then vice president, and secretary.
So one thing that Commissioner Murphy, you said last year that you would like to be considered for the role of president for this year. Is that still your feeling?
I would say that's actually changed, but then it's going to depend. I would like to recommend Christine being the president next year. And the reason for that is we used to change every year. So we all had a chance of being in all offices. And then we got away from that the last few years where we just kind of stayed where we're at. I would like to go back into the rotation for the three of us to have opportunities to serve in all three positions. But I'm just one of three. So, you know, I leave it open to the two of you to tell me what you think.
Yeah, I'm open to any combination, and I like the point of rotation. Commissioner Grant, how do you feel about that?
I mean, I'm happy to serve as the president. I think, Mike, it's yours to have though, if you want it.
Here's what I'm really feeling. I'm running next year in 22. I've enjoyed working under O'Toole. I would like to have the opportunity, if I don't get back in, because I'm going to run, to serve under you too and support you. So I know both of you have had the opportunity to lead our board if by chance I don't get back in. So I would prefer to support you in 22. And if I get back in, yeah, we'll talk about 23.
So it sounds like, Christine, we're asking you to take the role of
Yeah.
president. As far as a slate, now because there's only three of us and there's three offices, none of us get off the hook. So what about the other two positions? A role that I have not had so far is vice chair, vice president. But I'm fine being either the vice chair or the secretary position. Vice president, sorry, or secretary position. Mike, do you have a preference?
You know, too, I've been all three positions. I'm just as happy to be a secretary as a VP as a president. I'd like to support Christine as the president, but I'm open to what you want. If you say you want to try VP, then I'm good with that too.
Sure, I'll try that.
Well, hearing the discussion, you know, if Commissioner Murphy, who is in a position to make a motion on this, he certainly could make a motion with that slate of officers. And it would be Christine as president, O'Toole as vice president, and Commissioner Murphy as secretary.
I'll make that motion.
I will second that.
And for clarity, this is effective January 2022, just so we close out the year
All right.
accurately for signing.
Great. So there's a motion and a second. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Congratulations. all.
Congratulations.
So we have a new slate. Now, last item on our new business is the approval of the general manager's contract.
And this is actually the amended contract for Steve. We have that largely drafted. Peter's reviewing it on some of the personnel, employment law issues, and we will have that for you, to Steve to review, and then back to you in early January. So no action tonight on this. This is the amendment of the current general manager's contract.
Okay. That concludes our new business. Let's move on to the general manager's report.
Commissioner, I just had a couple of things that I know you received the Clearing Up magazine or flyer, and item number 9 in that last version of Clearing Up talks about Alcoa calling it quits at the Wenatchee Works smelter. I think that's an important one to read through. We have continued discussion with the Blue Wolf investment firm and BPA on the potential for the Intelco plant to restart. Those talks are ongoing. And I would say those talks, I mean, we haven't, in the last 3 weeks, we've had one conversation with Blue Wolf. But, you know, as the year ends, you expect if there's no action taken, that the project may be dead or the restart may be dead. But it's our understanding, if we look at the budget that the governor has put forward for 2022, his budget, it includes approximately $10 million plus in support of the Intelco startup. We don't know what those numbers, how those numbers will be used if they do get approved. But there's definitely a continued sincere expectation that we could see some startup in 2022 with Alcoa. So just thought I'd note that. And then we continue to have discussion with other project proponents out at Cherry Point. I just got a note yesterday that next week we've been asked to join in a conversation with the hydrogen project. And apparently they have a international investment firm now ready to partner with them on that project. And today I can't even tell you what that project is, other than they apparently have identified some property out at Cherry Point that they are now keying in on. So we expect some action sometime in 2022 on that project. So I believe that's all I had at this point.
Any questions from the commission? Okay, let's move on to the commissioner reports.
I can do mine really quick. It's only been a week since our last meeting. I did the broadband steering committee meeting, which we talked about at the beginning of the meeting. That's it for me.
Commissioner Murphy?
Update for under Energy Northwest. The Columbia nuclear plant is back up and running. It was down since December the 6th, I think it was. They needed to work on, they had some bad vibration in the turbine, so they had to go in and I guess it says put counterbalances on it. So it took a while to do that. The other project they're working on is a solar project, hoping to provide power to about 600 homes. They're working on the backup battery, which at this time will only supply power to 150 homes for 4 hours. So still a long ways to go in backup, but it does look promising for 600 homes. And it's a cost of $6 million. Half of it was a grant from the state. That's it. Oh, wait a minute. Northwest Public Power Bulletin had a nice welcoming Chris as our new general manager. That was a nice part in there. So I don't know who put that in there, but thank you. That's it.
I had an update regarding broadband, which was mentioned in the beginning of the meeting. Also now we are seeing the list of accolades coming for our current general manager. He was recognized at the Watershed Management Board meeting at Waputa. So I think there's a contest for the next couple of months to see who can embarrass Steve the most. So game on, people. We all appreciate you, Steve, and looking forward to seeing you blush.
Well, thank you. And I know the Watershed Management Board discussion was definitely led by you, and I appreciate those comments and opportunities. So we're looking forward to the next few months to see where I can find home.
Oh, you're home. You're home.
Yeah.
Okay, let's move on to public comment.
I don't think we have anything.
Yeah, looks like not.
Okay, commissioners, on the executive session, you'll have an invite in your inbox. I sent that out this morning. I apologize for the delay. We'll have a few staff members joining us on this topic. I'm estimating a half hour. If we may get done early, we'll just come out of executive session and adjourn. There will be no action following this executive session.
Okay, so commissioners, are we fine joining the executive session in just a minute or so? I'm just going to refresh my coffee, John.
I understand, but you do have to go to your invites. That'll be in your inbox. It was sent this morning during the meeting.
Great. See you on the other side in a couple of minutes, and we should be back before 10:30.
Yes. Oh, yeah.
No-
Probably
no
10,
action-
15.
Yeah.
No action.
No action anticipated. Okay, we're all here. We just completed our executive session. As anticipated, there was no action. If there's nothing else for the good of the order, I'd like to wish everyone happy holidays again and conclude our last meeting of the PUD for 2021. Our new president will be Commissioner Grant. Look forward to seeing you all in January. Thank you. Goodbye.
Thank you.
Happy holidays, everybody.
Here.